Welcome back to Rated Radio with your hosts Rayburn Alexander and Shane Wyndham. Rayburn, what Billboard hit did we cover this week?
Easy on Me by Adele.
What'd you think?
Adele's mature vocals are always a frontrunner, but we hear her after becoming a mother and a survivor of divorce, so this track, like most of her others, carries a somber note and is sure to make you feel all the feels. 5 stars.
5 stars for me as well. That's pretty obvious considering the artist. Not quite as devastating as Hello, but the melody and vocal interplay are all very engrossing. If you like sad love songs by artists like Taylor Swift or Rihanna, you're going to dig this. But none of what I'm saying really matters today because we've got a music guest on set. Masa, you ready to get into it?
I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
I appreciate you coming on. Let's jump in. So I apologize. I did you dirty just now. Masa Lopez.
Masa Lopez
is here with us.
It's all good, man.
Old friend of mine from school.
Yeah, we go way back.
Local rapper. I know you by some other names, but we're not going to go there today. Going to kick it professional. I've got a few questions for you before we start talking about Bone Thugs.
All right, let's do it, man.
And let's go ahead and mention here at the outset that the verses that just happened, we did not plan that shit.
No.
Not at all. I thought you did when we first talked about it, and then like a week later they announced the verses. I was like, did he know that was coming, or
no?
That just happened.
No, I did not. So that's crazy. But we'll talk more about that in a bit. So I wanted to ask, which artists have influenced your music most?
I don't know. It's kind of crazy, man. I still listen to a lot of the old artists that I grew up on, you know? But the one artist, and I don't even listen to him like that no more, but he was the one that kind of like influenced me a lot as a kid, was South Park Mexican.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember the first time I actually met him before I ever heard his music. And when I first heard his music and just him being Mexican, and he was from Houston, that kind of inspired me, man. Like I was like, man, that's just right there. And if he can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just with his whole history, him being in prison, it's kind of weird, you know, gray area, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly could say he probably influenced me the most out of everybody. You know what I mean?
What was it like to meet him?
Well, when I met him, I didn't know who he was. You know, like I was at kind of like a flea market type thing in Corpus Christi, and they had like a whole Dope House Records booth there, and he stopped me and was like, hey, showing me his music. They had like a little CD player set up, and I was listening to his music, you know, but my mom was like rushing me, like, come on, let's go. And I remember he was just like, hey man, listen to your moms. And I was just like, all right. And I walked off, you know, and I was living in Corpus at that time. And then maybe about a year later, I moved to Denton, and I was listening to K104 one night. They used to have Michael Watts used to be on K104 and would do like a screw hour or something where they would play a lot of screwed up music. And I remember hearing, what was it, Merry Go Round from SPM. He played it in his mix. And I remember that song from the flea market, you know, and I was like, hey, I told my sister, I was like, I think that's the artist that we met, you know? And then like shortly after that, it was like he blew up.
And all starts to come together.
Yeah. And then it was just like, hey man, I actually met him before he blew up. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Nice.
That's very cool. It was SPM versus Los. That was the first one I ever heard, and it was screwed as fuck, and I was so high. It doesn't matter. Who shouldn't listen to your music?
Man, who shouldn't listen? I want everybody to listen to it, man. But if you don't like I like to do like street, real, sometimes like emotional. Like I like to put my heart in my music, man. So if that's not your style, then maybe you shouldn't listen.
Right? You got an emotional side, and I think it comes through in your music.
Yeah.
You feel it.
Yeah, I do get emotional, man. My wife tells me that all the time. I'm emotional, you know what I mean? And that's gotten worse as I've gotten older, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Since we're kind of on the subject, I'm curious to know, what is your favorite song that you've done?
I think probably one of my favorite songs that I did was probably like the first song that I started getting some attention for, and I had those like my first big video ever shot was Shook Back. Like I actually purchased that beat from Mike Million. It was actually like two producers working together, Dub from Tennessee and Mike Million. They're like two different producers, but together they have like they go by Dub and Mel.
That's cool.
So I bought that beat from them, and I actually had that idea for that hook in my head before I even heard the beat. Like I kept remember driving and I would be like, I should back on it. Yeah. I kept
Yeah.
saying that to myself, you know, and then when I heard the beat, I kind of like matched it with it. And that song just came to me. Like I just started, I'm like driving or wherever, and I'm just like writing lyrics in my head, you know. And then I ended up calling my producer Izzy, and we went in there, we knocked it out, you know. And I got a lot of love from that song. Like that song, I think I ended up doing tours and doing all kinds of stuff. And I think a lot of that had to do with that song because it kind of put me like on another level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think people started taking me serious with that song.
Well, I noticed when looking through your discography that you have quite a bit of collabs. And some of my favorites, I really liked when you did Tatted with Zilla.
Yeah.
I liked that one. You also, Real is another one of my favorites. That was another
with Rock Baby.
Yeah, that was another collaboration.
That's my boy. Shout out to Rock Baby.
And Platinum and Gold.
Platinum and Gold. That's with my boy Level 9.
I like them.
Appreciate that.
I like the collaboration.
And all of those songs, songs, it's crazy because they all have their own, you know, their little story of how they came about, you know.
Well, like on Real, you kind of sounded Bone Thuggish to me in Real.
It had like an old school rap feel to it.
So
That's what we were kind of
right.
going for. What it reminded me of was like an old Scarface, something like that, like old school kind of rap. And my boy Rock Baby, he's the one who sang on the hook, and he's on the second verse. He actually, when I first heard the beat, I could hear him. Like in my head, I was like, I could hear Rock Baby singing on this.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? And so I bought the beat from Izzy, and I ended up shooting it to Rock Baby, and I was like, man, I don't know. I want you to write some like gangster, some player type stuff, like some old school rap. You know what I mean? I was like, just do your thing on it. See if you can come up with a hook, and we'll go back and forth and see. We'll put something together. And then maybe a few days later, he's like, I got something for you. And he sent it to me. Like he had like a little rough draft of the hook. And then when I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, that's it. I like that, you know?
Well, it's cool to see such a variety in your music because you had that old style, but then Platinum and Gold, it's got that newer style too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variety there.
And I think that has a lot to do with Level 9 because, you know, Level 9's up and coming. He's actually doing this thing, you know what I mean? And he's a younger artist. And they have that whole, I don't want to call them swag rap. I really don't know how to classify them, but they're like the younger artists. You know what I mean? So their whole style and everything is different.
It reminded me a lot of like Lil Yachty stuff.
Yeah,
like
something
that
like
sound.
that. Exactly. Yeah.
So you can definitely sense the
I'm kind of like
variety
the
and the
old
progression.
head. I'm like the old head messing with the young rappers.
That's what I'm saying, but it felt nice that your flow hit so well there.
Yeah.
I can say that I like Shook Back enough so much that it wound up on my novel soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like I wrote a whole last chapter listening to that song. Like straight up, the place I had to be in my head to write that chapter was listening to that song. I will say one of my favorites, though, we're going to talk about later.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about that yet. Okay. What do you often wish you had help with when it comes to making music?
One thing I wish I had help with was like marketing, like promotion. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I got the music part down. Like let me get in the studio and create and do my thing. But I've always been an independent artist. I've had like a partner, manager. I was I'm still a part of Cash and Respect. And Miller the Mayor, that's my boy. He's my partner with the Den Recording Studio. But I've always had his support and his backing. And I've had a backing from other artists and other friends in the past, but really it's always been like more of an independent grind. Like I've been doing this all on my own type stuff, you know what I mean? I've had a little help from them and I appreciate it all, but it's always like I make the music, but I don't know what to do with it after I do it. You know what I mean? I can only do so much myself. And that's where I was like, man, I wish I had help. I wish I had a team of people that could help put my music in the right place, or, you know what I mean, put it in front of people that normally wouldn't hear it, you know?
Speaking my language.
Yeah.
So that's my big issue, man.
I was going to say, Shane has personal experience from that too.
Wake up daily for decades now. Hell, just produce and produce and produce. It's like, well, I guess I just put it out there.
I'm not even gonna lie. And music is something hard, man. Like I don't know how many times I've wanted to quit and just stop doing it just because I'm like, man, I've been doing this. I've been putting in so much work, and
you feel like nobody's listening.
Yeah,
to
or
it.
I feel like it's not reaching as, it's not getting as far as I want it to go, you know. But then I can go to the store and I get recognized by people I don't even know. You know what I mean?
That's
so I'm like,
feeling.
man, I must be doing something right. So I was like, I just need to keep doing it, man. But I'm not even gonna lie, just life itself, man, has discouraged me from music sometimes. You know?
life's a bitch.
Exactly.
Real life always comes and gets in the way. You know, you can't just be on the road all the time doing shows and producing nonstop.
And then, you know, I got married back in 2020. So when I got married, thank you. When I got married, I kind of slowed down a lot too. I was like, you know what? I'm getting older. I got my family now. I still do the music, but now I'm more focused on my home, my household. You know what I mean?
If there's anything that I learned from Shane, it's whatever project you're working on, make sure you're doing it for you first before you do it for anybody else.
And I can tell, I watch this motherfucker online, so he'll be joking sometimes about how maybe he's done and he just wants to produce.
Yeah.
And you could tell, I already know, I read that shit and I'm like, I give it a week and that it should be coming.
And it comes and goes, man. It comes and goes. I'm not even going to lie. And I was like, I don't know if y'all want to get into that now, but that was like the whole reson why I opened the studio. Like, that was my idea behind the studio.
The Den 940, right?
Yeah, the Den 940. We're right here in Denton off of Locust Street. But that was the whole idea behind the studio because I felt like I was like lacking creativity, like inspiration. Like I didn't have the motivation to do music. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like I said, that just has to stuff that I'm going through in life, you know? So I was kind of started thinking like, man, I'm getting older. Like, I still love doing music, but I don't necessarily have to be doing my own music.
Yeah. You want it to be a part of your life no matter what.
Exactly. And I was like, you know what? And a way for me to be a part of creating music is, because I was already recording people, but I was doing it like out of my house or mobile. I would go to their house and record them. You know what I mean? But I was like, I've always liked that because like I said, I just like being a part of creating the music, even if it's not my own music. And I like when artists come in and they're have an idea for a song, but they've really never been in the studio or they don't know how to structure a song. So I kind of help them out. Next thing you know, they leave happy. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's what's up. That's what I like.
I dig it.
But even now, I'm still like, I'm trying to, I have a project right now that I'm getting ready to release and it's been ready, but I just haven't put it out because like I said, I haven't had no motivation.
Okay. I didn't think it was ready yet.
I'm always working on music. I just did a song a couple days ago, and I just put like a little sample out on Instagram. But I have music that I've never put out, and I'm just still working, trying to gather up songs. So I get my little moods where I kind of feel like you said, I'm like, man, I'm done with this. I'm just gonna do this. You know what I mean? But then my wife, she's like big inspiration. Like she's like motivates me. She tells me like, man, quit looking for motivation and go just do it.
That's good to have.
You know what I mean? Like, she's like, you say you need motivation, you need inspiration. She said, who's going to do that better than yourself? Just do it. You know what I mean? Like, don't stop, just do it. Yeah. So I'm trying to make that happen. I'm trying to keep that, keep it going like that.
Well, I guess that answers my question of what drives you every day to make music. So there you go.
Well, yeah. Well, she is. And then the really makes me want to keep doing music is her. And then just the feedback that I get from people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I meet people and I see people all the time and they tell me, hey man, like I really fuck with you, or I really like your music. And it's even happened out of town, not even just in Denton. You know what I mean? So I'm like, man, okay, I feel that and I like that. You know what I mean? It makes me feel good. So I'm like, okay, so I'm doing something right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Part of the problem is that take someone like yourself, you're still in your hometown.
Yeah.
And that's a respectable thing. I don't want to leave this place either, but I see it a lot in like music books and marketing books.
So you have to get out of your hometown.
Yeah, you got to go to those big places because it's all just this big circle of like, let's build each other up. You don't necessarily have that in your hometown with the people you grew up with. Yeah. It's not a knock against them. It's just we're all living our lives.
Yeah,
you know?
they see us. We went to school with them, so they're like, oh, that's just so-and-so. Like, I went to school with him. You know, they don't take you as serious as somebody that's not from here that knows nothing about you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You see all those memes like, oh, is this the person you grew up with in high school still trying to be a rapper in his hometown or whatnot? Like, you're still making good music.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's the untold story behind one of your songs?
Oh, I don't know. I got so many. Like I said, every song kind of has a story. And like my new project, I have like we were talking about how I get emotional and stuff. My new project is called True Story, and I have some songs that had never been heard, but I get real personal. And a lot of that has to do with, like I said, life, man. I talk about a lot of real stuff. Yeah. Like I might mention stuff like 2020 was hard. You know, like we lost a lot of people. I lost a lot of friends from COVID and just car wrecks and just health stuff. You know, I lost a lot of people.
And you lost people before that too. So
yeah,
it's
we've lost a whole lot of people, man. And like I said, a lot of that. I don't get too into detail. Like I'm not gonna say exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But I'll kind of touch on subjects, and I'll like mention real names, and I talk about real situations. You know what I mean? So
I hear some lyrics sometimes that just take me back to my childhood. It's like you're not getting too specific, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave the door open, but I'm not gonna leave it cracked.
But you're not gonna leave it open.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But as far as you say, like untold story, I was like, man, I kind of give you a little bit, and I won't get too much into it. You know what I mean? But every song I think has a little bit of truth behind it, man. A little bit of my life experiences and stuff. And some songs are just like for fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's kind of like a if you know, you know
if
situation.
You know, you know. Yeah. So,
well, bonus side question here then. Because I've been out the loop for about half a lifetime now. Where did Masa Lopez come from?
Okay, well, that actually came from, and it's crazy because it all started because I used to go by Doe. When I was like 17, that's what I've been rhyming and rapping since 13, 14. That's when I started trying to rap. And
always writing, by the way.
Yeah.
He's in my very first poetry collection. He used to write with me way back in the day.
Yes,
that's
sir.
how far
Yes,
back we
sir.
go.
And that's how I started rhyming. And it's crazy. We'll get into that in a second. But so when I was like 17, you remember Marcos? Little Matt?
Yeah.
So, me and Little Matt go way back as little kids, man. And I used to, you remember Adrian Laredo?
Yes.
That was my dog. That was my homie back in the day. And we were hanging out, and I used to like freestyle and be rapping to her. And she used to tell me, I know somebody that can rap, and he goes hard. Like, I'm going to introduce you to him. So I was like, okay. And one day I'm chilling. She calls me, and she's like, hey, I got my homeboy with me. If you want to come outside and meet him. And I go outside, and it's fucking Marcos. You know what I mean? And me and Marcos go way back, and I'm like, this is your boy. That's my homie. You know what I mean? And he played a song for me that he had recorded, and it sounded good to me. And I was like, that is not you, man. That's not you. I didn't believe him. And then he was like, you think I'm bullshitting, man? And he ended up calling the producer, which ended up living like 2 blocks from me. And we walked over there. And that night I did a song. I did my very first song I ever recorded. And they were like, what are you going to call yourself? You need like a rapper name, a stage name. I said, you know what? I'm going to go by Doe, like Doughboy. And I was mistaken because my older cousin, he used to rap and do music when I was younger. And they used to be like, oh, he's going to blow up. He's doing this thing. So I was like paying homage to him because I thought he went by Doe. You know what I mean? But come to find out, that was like one of his homies. It wasn't even him.
Gotcha.
So I kind of took that name, like paying like respect to my cousin. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to call myself Doe. And I did that for like a few years. But then I was always looking for a new name. I was always searching for a way to kind of twist it up and change it up a little bit. So if y'all don't know, Masa means like dough, like in Spanish. You know what I mean? So I kind of changed it to Masa. A few people like Little Matt used to call me Masa. But he did it like jokingly, thinking it was funny. So I just went by Masa, and I was still looking. I always liked artists that had first and last names. Yeah, but there's a lot of artists that have, first, like Travis Scott. Okay. Something like that. You know what I mean? I always liked the artists that had like it sounded like a real name. So I was trying to come up with something like that. And then I was actually watching Blood In, Blood Out. And that's like one of my favorite movies. I used to watch it on repeat as a kid. And there's one part where like the black gang and the Mexican gang, they're like at the fence in prison, and they're fixing to go to war. And they're talking about it. They're talking about making a truce or something, right? So one of the characters tells him, he mentions a character that you never see. They only mention him one time, but he mentions a character in a movie called, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, like Masa Lopez.
Okay.
He was like, he said something about, what about Masa Lopez? Something like that. And when I heard it,
the light bulb went off.
Yeah, it was like, bing.
Yeah.
And I said, did he say Masa? And I like rewinded. I said, no, he didn't. I said, but I like that though. And then Lopez is actually my family name. Like, my dad was Lopez Vasquez, his name. His Lopez was his middle name. Like Lopez is my family name on my dad's side. On his mom's side. That's where the Lopez's were. So it kind of like it
paying
fit.
Homage.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just put it together, and the very first song I ever used that, I was doing a song with my boy Easy and another friend, A1, and I used to always D-O-E, I used to do some shit like that before I started rapping. And then that day I was doing a song, and I just kind of said, Masa Lopez, and they were like, what? They were like, people were like, liked it. A few people were like, hey, that's kind of dope. That's kind of dope. And then it just stuck from there. I just started calling myself that, and it stuck. Now everybody knows me. But it's crazy how it all came about. It started off as Doe, and I switched it to Masa, and then I watched the movie, and I heard that, and it kind of like all kind of shit.
Evolution.
It just kind of evolved into
Lopez.
that.
I dig it. It rolls off the tongue. I
I always thought it sounded good together too.
Should have known it had something to do with blood and blood. Man.
Well,
I've told that story before too. I don't think I've ever gotten like in detail about it, but yeah, it's like I said, that's the best way you could say it evolved from one thing to another.
Shane's told me some of the other names that we're not going to mention here that he knows you by.
And I'm not worried. I'm not embarrassed by it or nothing like that. You know, some people know me as, and I'll go ahead and say, some people know me as Chewy. Mm-hmm. That's my, that's like a nickname. That's what I knew you as. And that's like a nickname, like Latinos, Hispanics name Jesus get. If your name is Jesus, a lot of times they call you Chewy. You know what I mean? Like I have a brother-in-law, my sister's husband's name is Jesus, and they call him Chewy too. You know, but that was mostly like close family friends. People I grew up with call me that. A lot of people nowadays don't know that, you know?
Yeah.
And but my real name is Jesus. And so if you work with me and went to school with me, that's how, you know, you'll call me Jesus.
Yeah, immediate. It was like first day of school, Jesus. We start trying to talk to you. He's like, man, call me Chewy.
Well, I feel like this reunion would be made much more perfect with a plate of Crispitos here.
Man, don't be hating on Crispitos.
I'm not hating. I want to try them. But I heard...
Some chili cheese fries.
Dude.
I read
and those good rolls from school.
The rolls, man. The rolls.
I read somewhere that you've been writing music as early as 6th grade.
Yeah. It started off not music, but poetry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you've been writing since 6th grade.
And it all started, I've told this story before too, it all started like a class project.
Yo.
Mm-hmm.
We were in 6th grade together. Me and Shane that's where I met Shane in 6th grade. And we went to Hodge Elementary, and we were in Miss Richards?
Mm-hmm.
We were in Miss Richards' class in 6th grade. And
I think we actually split time between her and Miss Shelton that year, but it was Miss Richards who was
we did because we would go in there for like social studies or something like that, right? But I remember meeting Shane, and Shane was always like real creative, artistic, you know what I mean? I was always like that. And but I remember we were like doing poetry, studying poetry or whatever in school, and they gave us like an assignment. Everybody had to write a poem and like present it in front of the class. And I was just like wasn't into it, you know, but I wrote like a short poem about a football, like if I was a football.
Okay.
And I remember, do you remember that?
Changed the perspective a little bit.
I did not remember it. I wrote it sounds entirely too familiar now.
I wrote the poem about like in my perspective, if I was the football and how I felt, you know,
getting tossed around.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was kind of funny. When I wrote it, I didn't mean for it to be funny. I was just trying to do the assignment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when we got up there and I presented it, I remember the whole class just laughing and like they liked it, you know? And then after I did my thing, Shane was like, man, I really like that. I remember Shane telling me like, I like that. And I think you have like potential to like write. Like I think you have something there. Like if you keep working at it.
It was just so unique, man. I mean, everybody's going to get up there and do, you know, some love poem or some imitation of Edgar Allan Poe or something. No, motherfucker talking about a football.
And but I remember Shane was the one that was like, I like it. He kind of told me like, man, you should try writing more.
Yeah.
And then Shane would be like, hey, I'm writing a poem. You want to write it with me? You want to help me write it? And I was like, all right, I don't really know much about it. But Shane was like, man, I'll show you. Like, I'll show you how to. Because when I used to write, it would just like I'd write a letter. Like everything would just be crammed in together. And Shane was like, I like what you're saying, but it's hard to read.
How to structure it a little
and so
bit.
he showed me how to structure my poems. You know what I mean? So they would be legible to people and stuff. And then just through that, he's like the one that told me I had like potential or I had like talent when it came to writing. Because like that wasn't even something I thought about or even wanted to do. You know what I mean?
I get it.
Well, the talent was there all along.
Yeah, you know, but he helped bring that out, you know, and I started writing with Shane and I bragged to people all the time. I was like, man, I'm like a published poet, you know? And I was like 13, 14 and I had one of my poems put in a book, you know what I mean? And that was all because of Shane. If I'm not mistaken, you won like a contest or something?
I did at one point, yeah.
I remember you won like a contest and I think the prize was like they printed like a book or you had like a book published of all your work.
Yeah.
And
Chicken soup for the teenage soul.
I was in that stuff. I did mess around with that. I remember I got pretty disheartened for a while because of I think it was theater, man. We were big into theater for a while in middle school too, but
it was just the easy class.
Man, it was. It was fun.
Like, all we did was hang out in the back and write poems and stuff.
But the flip side of that is the things that you introduced me to, which going back to Blood In, Blood Out, it's an appreciation for film. It was also an appreciation for types of music that I didn't necessarily listen to at the time.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. We all like to look back and they give me shit because I listen to, you know, super emotional crybaby music or whatnot. But I get some of that from you.
Yeah.
Because, I coming up with Chris and all that, it was just rap.
Yeah.
That's what we listened to. So yeah, I dig a little R&B here and there, but some other stuff, it all.
And there's like, music will take you back to a certain time. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of music that I learned from you, like Linkin Park. And I know there's more. I remember you used to have like a bunch of CDs, man, and like Kid Rock. I remember hearing Kid Rock and like Linkin Park and other artists for the first time through Shane.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember Shane showing me how to play certain things on the piano. And I still do that. I still play that in the end. That little.
Yeah.
I still play that when I see a piano. I still play it. But Jeff, like I give you a lot of credit for that, man. Like I appreciate that. I really do, because it's like you saw something in me back then that I didn't even see in myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think if you would have did that, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be Masa Lopez. I wouldn't be the rapper. You know what I mean? I may have eventually came to that, but I think Shane kind of brought that out of me. You know what I mean?
Well, like I said, I think the talent's been there all along.
Yeah. But he helped me recognize that talent,
All people need is a little nudge, man.
Exactly, man. And you know what? That's why, like, I deal with a lot of artists, and some of them you can tell they're beginners and they need a little work.
They don't have that confidence in themselves.
Exactly.
Like, they don't believe in themselves.
And I'm like, and I sit there and I show everybody love, man, and I try to motivate everybody and help them sound as good as I can, because I'm like, it might just be the nerves. You probably go stupid hard. You're probably stupid talented, but you're just nervous because you don't know me. You might be intimidated or whatever the thing may be,
Yeah.
But I always say, Shane, man, brought that out of me, and he helped me out a lot with that. And that's why I always give you credit, man. Like, I love you for that. You know what I mean? Like,
I
for
love
real.
you back, man.
Because it's like, man, like I said, we go way back to little kids, and if it wasn't for that stupid little poem I wrote, you know what I mean, I probably wouldn't be rhyming still. And then, like I said, when he saw that in me, I started taking poetry more serious, and I started writing poems. And I used to think I was like a lover boy, like I could write love poems, you know what I mean? So I remember when we were going to Strickland, I used to write poems, and I used to be the guy that I would write a poem for your girl. Like, hey, write a poem for my girl. It's Valentine.
That's cool.
So I was doing stuff like that. And,
so you are so responsible for so many relationships that had developed.
A couple breakups, probably. But yeah,
like, what was that?
So I remember doing that, and then I started trying to write like more serious raps, like more realistic rap, like not raps, poems. And I wrote a couple of poems, man. And you remember Jesse Mendez?
Yeah, your cousin, right?
Yeah, that's my fam. He used to be the one that I would proofread like my poems to. Like, I would show him what I was writing or what I was up to, and he was the one that told me, bro, it sounds like you're rapping. When you read these poems, it sounds like you're rapping. All you need is a beat. He said, if you put a beat behind that shit would go so hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was like, what? And then so that kind of sparked the interest of rapping. And then that's when I discovered SPM and all that. And then I was like, wow, maybe I can do this. You know what I mean?
I'm going to say you sound like you're rapping. I wonder if it was like a spoken word sort of thing. And he thought. I
guess it was, because I remember I don't remember the exact poem, but I had a friend of mine that passed away when we were like little kids. And I wrote a poem called 40 for my homie. You know what I mean? Like, I was talking about pouring you pour a 40 out?
Yeah.
And I wrote a song called, like not a song, but a quick poem called 40 for my homie. And when I read it to him, he was like, went crazy. Like, oh man, that's so fucking dope, whatever, So yeah, like I said, that's how it started. He was the one telling me that I sounded like I was rapping. And then I met a few other people, man. I remember the first time I met my boy, Slim. You remember Slim, Bobby Sears? Went to school with him.
The name sounds so familiar.
Good friend of mine. We've kind of lost contact over the last few years, you know what I mean? But he was the first person that I ever heard that could freestyle. And when I first heard him freestyle, he blew my mind.
Is this who y'all used to do tapes of? Just like solo tapes to record and play for people or whatnot? Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
So we used to do that in my house. We had like a little stereo that we could hook up a little mic into. And then we were even rapping into the speaker, using the speaker as a mic, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's where it all kind of started. That's how it all took off for me trying to do music. Like I said, Shane inspired me to start writing, and then it was like Jesse inspired me to start rapping. And it was kind of weird. It's like over time, I've always been in the right places. I've always met the right type of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, just me being Mexican or just being the little chubby kid, like nobody, they weren't taking me serious. You know what I mean? So as basically, I feel like I taught myself how to rap. A lot of people are born with like this natural talent that they can just go stupid.
You put in the work.
Yeah, like I taught myself. Like he taught me how to structure my rhymes, and I still use that. When I write my music, and I just kind of taught myself and how to do it. Because I didn't have no idea. I used to try to freestyle and could not do it. And I'm still not the best freestyler. I'm more of a writer. I've always considered myself a writer.
Same.
Oh, we're here to promote self-taught.
If you ever want a good laugh, let's get in a room and freestyle together. All right, final question for this first half here is, what's your favorite part about creating music?
Just the whole process, man. I like the vibe. I like being in like a room with other artists and just like feeding off each other. Like somebody might have an idea and then you add to that idea and then somebody will take it and take your idea and kind of twist it a little bit. I just like the whole creative process, like the vibe that you can get. And it's kind of hard to find that vibe with everybody. There's like only certain people that I've seen over the years that we can get in the studio and make some good music and make a lot of music like back to back. You know?
When it happens though, goddamn.
Yeah, man.
Ooh.
Like
I know what you're saying. I
had a friend of mine, PC Problem Child. He was part of like the label that we were with back in like 2012. He passed away from cancer. But him and my other boy A1, well, they were like family. They're like cousins or something. But all three of us together, when you put us together, we would knock out so much music, and it would be like quick. One would do the hook, he would do a verse, I would do a verse, and it was just like we were knocking out songs. Like our vibe together was
got
like
each other.
Yeah, like y'all people could not fuck with us. That's how I used to say. Like, man, once we put this out, people won't fuck with us. Man, it's just vibing with the artist, man. Yeah, creating. You know,
I dig it. You ready to talk about Bone Thugs and Harmony?
Let's do it, man.
All right, so you're a busy man. In case nobody knows, he's working full time. He's producing in his off time. He's still got the family life. So
yes, sir.
He basically just lives the same life that I do. And so
just always on go, man.
So we don't have expectations here today if you haven't listened to all the music and done all the things. Yeah. But if you want to chime in at any point, be my guest.
All right.
And I suspect you will. The first album we covered was East 1999 Eternal from 1995. This was my top album.
Classic. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm interrupting.
No, you go ahead. I'm not sure where the flow is going.
Classic Bone Thugs and Harmony album. That's actually, fun fact, that's actually the first rap album I ever purchased.
Same.
And the way it happened, it was like summer 96. 95, 96, and we used to go hang out at the mall during the summer. And I remember, I don't know how old I was, man, maybe like 10, 11, walking through the mall, and I found $20 rolled up on the floor. And the first thing I thought about was Bone Thugs, because a friend of mine, Ishmael, had introduced me to Bone Thugs. We were sitting in his car, and he was like, my brother's got this tape. And he played, it was East 1999, the Bone Thugs. So when I found that $20, I ran straight to Camelot. You remember Camelot Music used to be in the mall? Mm-hmm. I ran straight to Camelot Music, man, and I bought the cassette. And that was the first album, rap album, anything that I ever purchased, man, like music-wise, you know.
Let me ask a question, because I'm sure people like Rayburn will have no idea, but that album originally did not have that radio edit of Crossroads. It had the original Crossroads that you can find on, the collection, Volume 1 now. Mm-hmm. Did you have that version? Because that's the version I remember owning as a kid. It didn't have that radio meet you at the Crossroads thing.
I didn't have my family didn't care if it was edited or not. So I had the explicit album, you know what I mean?
There you go. All right. Out of the 17 tracks, I gave 11 fives.
Well, it fell in the middle for me, but I gave 5 fives.
My top track was Mo Murda.
My top track was Shots to the Glock.
Shots to the Double Glock was your top track?
Yeah. Double's written really, really small.
Bottom track for me was Mr. Ouija 2, which is weird because it's the intro to my favorite track.
Same. Mine was the same.
All right. You want me to just talk?
No, I'll take it.
So there's one song on there that made me a fan of, the whole song that made me a fan of Bone Thugs, even before Crossroads or First of the Month, was called, the song was Die, Die, Die.
Oh, yeah.
And where they're like in a car running from the cops or something, and the cops like being racist or whatever. That was one of the first songs I ever heard of Bone Thugs, and just like those skits on that song, like it was like a movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like you could see it I could see it in my head.
Instead of a chorus, it was film, and it's so visceral. Like you feel exactly what's going on.
That was like one of my favorite songs on that album.
You know, I just remember Chris driving me nuts with Mr. Bill Collector. I love this song, man, but he would just play it so much.
For me, this album adds a unique rapping style, surprisingly decent singers when the harmonies work.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice beats, makes some use of some vintage beats, and nostalgic as fuck for anyone that likes 90s rap.
I cut my musical teeth on this LP and remember it as the start of that massive CD collection I once had. Still feels strange to hear the Crossroads replacing the original Crossroads here, but you can find the original on the collection Volume 1. Both are 5s anyway. This disc is a true gangster rap classic. Yes. Choruses can occasionally be sparse, and it's a pretty dark listen, but everyone brings their A game. Time in a bottle for me.
This album is 23rd on the best-selling rap albums of all time. So I think that
I'm actually surprised it's not higher.
I was surprised it wasn't higher either. But when I went to look at it, it was 23. I mean, that's still not something to shake a finger at. So
next album we covered was Thug World Order from 2002. I was going for like a cross section of their discography, by the way. So I'm not necessarily picking what I love. Thug World Order from 2002. This was my bottom album.
This is my top.
I'm not really familiar with that album, I don't think. That's more their newer music, then I'm not really too familiar with that. Like, one of my other albums that they dropped that I liked was The Art of War.
Yes. 1 and 2.
The Art of War was fire.
A double disc?
The one that had Tupac on it? Yeah. That was fire.
That would have been what I picked, but I didn't want everybody having to listen to too much music, so. Out of the 16 tracks, I gave 5 5s.
I gave 6 5s.
My top track was a toss-up between Home and Pump Pump.
My top track was Money Money.
And my bottom track was Nonfiction Words by Eazy-E.
Same.
Which is sad because it's Eazy-E talking, but...
I know.
I have to go check that out. I don't think I've heard of the album, but I don't remember the music on it. I don't remember the track list.
Home, at least. Like most of it I hadn't heard. I knew 2 of the singles there, but...
Was it like a compilation, like a re-release of older music?
No, it was a straight release.
Okay.
But they sampled
Home by Phil Collins.
Yeah, Take Me Home.
I think I remember that. That's when they did a video for that and everything too, right? Okay.
Which, if you don't know, Eazy-E of NWA first signed Bone Thugs and was really, really important to them. For me, this album seems to have increased in production value, offers more of a variety, and at times can be rather funky.
The problem with this album is not the raps, it's most everything else. A lot of weak choruses, misplaced instrumentals, poor skits, and attempts at mass appeal. The verses are what keep this thing afloat. Too many hands in the production pot, big globs of cheese, and seemingly a desire to distance themselves from a fair amount of what made rap fans take them seriously in the first place.
Yeah.
Still a few winners and near misses, though. I can't.
Were they kind of like
a bad album.
They weren't a whole group at that time, right? Like they were kind of having like members leave the group, and
I mean, anywhere and everywhere you could say that. Busy's been out and back in so many times. Yeah. I mean, Flesh was in jail for so long.
For like a long time.
You ask a lot of people, even people that were they grew up with us or whatnot, they think of Bone Thugs as 4 people. They don't even realize that Flesh was part of the group. But
which I forgot to mention it on the last album, but Crossroads, since we were talking about Eazy-E, is dedicated to a couple of important people in the music industry, with Eazy-E being one of them. But a couple of names that they went by were the Band-Aid Boys and Bone Enterprise. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
Last album we covered was Strength and Loyalty from 2007. This was my middle album.
This was my bottom album.
Out of the 14 tracks, I gave 9 5s.
I gave 3 5s.
My top track was 9mm.
My top track was Windblow. Very well done, in my opinion.
Just a Fleetwood Mac sample, just...
It wasn't because the Fleetwood Mac sample. I found it refreshing because you took
I'm fucking with you, Ray.
No, I'm going to state my case. You take 2 completely different genres, and they work.
My bottom track was Sounds the Same.
Same.
All right.
All of our bottoms have been right there with each other. This album seems a bit rushed at times for me. Creative. A lot of collabs including Mariah Carey, Twista, The Game, Akon, and Swiss Beats. So if you like collabs, this is a good album to start with.
No Busy, no DJ Unique. Producers like Jermaine Dupri and Will.i.am. A guest spot by Bow Wow.
Yeah, that's weird right there for Bone Thugs.
At first glance, this shouldn't work, but Swiss Beats clearly had something to prove here because it's totally a bumpable vibe in most places. A million miles away from the East 1999 days, but I'm not ashamed to admit that I enjoy the hell out of this spin. Wish really shines, and you can tell how much they wanted to incorporate Flesh's sound in his absence. Give it a shot if nothing else, proof that not all change is bad.
Speaking of collabs, they were set to work with Tupac in a project called One Nation, but didn't due to Tupac's passing. R.I.P. Tupac. And also, shut up, Shane. Also,
you're like the whitest person on the planet when you talk about dead rappers.
Go to hell.
Love it.
Before Jay-Z was famous, he battled Bizzy Bone and lost. So that's something.
Bizzy Bone battled Jay-Z?
Jay-Z lost.
Is there a video of that?
I don't know.
Like, I've never heard of that. That'd be something to
haven't
check
either.
out.
If anybody can find it, send it to us. Let us know.
Send us a link.
We'll put it on the mentions playlist if it's a real thing.
And Lost.
Yeah.
So, man, I gotta look into that.
I can't imagine much of anyone going up against Busy and coming out on top. It just seems kind of... He can have his off days, I guess, but...
I remember when we were kids, man, you know how it was kind of hard to understand them? Mm-hmm. Shane could rap word for word a lot of those songs, man. I remember.
We were at Cody's one night.
Remember that? Yeah.
And his fucking brother, he came in trying to talk shit. He's like, man, he's just making noise. He's imitating the noise. Yeah. No, let me tell you what he's saying.
Yeah, I remember that, and that's the memory I had in my head when you broke it down and like rapped every word, and I was like, "Wow!"
You gonna break it down right now for
No,
us?
I'm not.
Damn, had to try.
I'm a little slower than I used to be. Let's say that. Related acts here would be Mo Thugs. They have lots of solo and side projects, and I'm talking a lot. They produce a lot of music, and I feel like someday I'll go through it all, but I'm not there yet. I'm scared.
Another episode, another day.
I get turned off. Every time I go to look into the solo stuff, I remember Crazy Bone has these songs I want to hear, but I can't find them online. Like even more recently, he had something called Headhunters come out. It was big on YouTube, but I could never find it on Spotify. It just dissuades me from checking it out. While we're talking about missing music, the collection volume 1 has disappeared off of Spotify recently for some damn reason. That shit reminds me of theater. Yeah. By the way, that's when that was big. It's supposed to be like a greatest hits, but it's also got a few just like original tracks on there, like the Fuck the Police remake that they did. I'm trying to think of some other stuff.
I think you were the one that put me on to the Mo Thugs album that had like the "You Better Count Your Money." Yeah. You remember that? Was it Ghetto Cowboy or something like that? Yeah.
I want to say that the Meet Me in the Sky video hits me in the nostalgic feels. Reminds me that all of my oldest homies are still out there, connected to themselves by those threads of youth we used to hold on to together. I think their strongest element, and we can have some discussion here if you want. I love Crazy Bone, man. I think they've all got distinct voices. I love Crazy Bone.
Crazy's the hardest. Like, to me, he's the hardest, man. They all go hard, but his voice is just something like unique, man. It stands out. And I think he's one of the stronger lyricists out of the whole group. They all do their thing, you know what I mean? But he's like my favorite one.
These fuckers don't age either.
Yeah, they don't.
I was tripped out watching them on stage, and I can say, because I watched most of that Versus. That just
I only saw
out.
like the fight. I only saw like the fight and like a few little clips here and there, but I didn't get to check it out.
I didn't expect the fight. I missed the train completely, and when it happened, I was like, how does this go on for another 2 hours?
And was that at the very beginning?
Yeah, it wasn't that far in, but the show itself lasted damn near 3 hours.
And it was Busy that set it off, right?
Yeah.
He threw his mic at Gangsta Boo?
I think a water bottle is what it was.
Oh, I thought it was the mic. I was like, man, he just throw that at Gangsta Boo?
Yeah.
And then Gangsta Boo was the one talking shit in the background, right?
They were heated to begin with. Yeah. It was all in good fun. But the reason I brought that up to begin with is I appreciate Lazy more having watched that because he was a real peacekeeper at that thing. And he really did do his best to make sure there was love on both sides of the aisle for that shit.
Is he back to being Lazy or is he still El Burna?
Dude, I don't know.
Do you remember when he was going by El Burna?
Do.
He did like a solo project going as El Burna, something like that.
Busy's little ripster shit. Music makes me feel like I'm smoking Black and Milds in a blacklit room.
Okay.
No idea why. It's not experience. I promise you that. I'd like for Bone Thugs to collaborate with Strange Music, like Tech Nine's label. Yeah. I think that would be cool.
Is Ritz still a part of that?
Yeah.
He's probably like my favorite artist on that label.
I love Ritz.
We
were actually
hard.
joking recently because she's got some rapper picked up for next season. And I didn't want to do rapper back to back.
Yeah.
I was going to go Yellow Wolf versus Ritz, but she picked a rapper, so we're changing that up.
Anyway, that's good. That's a good verses.
So it's become popular to hate on this group, and some of that seemed deserved, mostly in the middle of their career, but they continue coming out of nowhere with literal bangers. Like most artists who live to make music, they release way too much B-side material.
Yeah.
But anyone who sleeps on Bone or claims they aren't part of rap's spine is someone who deserves to be called out for the deaf idiot they are. These guys are to rap what Mortal Kombat's been to fighting games. And
Good analogy.
That's all I got to say about that.
Good analogy. I like that.
Anyway, let's take a break.
Yeah.
All right. So, Raven, what do we have today for this break?
I don't know, Shane. What do we have for today for this break?
I'm surprised you're not like in panic mode trying to figure out what's going to happen, right?
No, I've just come to I swear I live on the edge every time I enter this house to do this with you because you end up surprising me with something always.
Let's get to it. So today's break, normally we do a music list with music guests coming on. We're not going to do that. I'm going to do that. So I got 5 songs that make me think about you.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to go through. First one is actually a Six Mafia song. It's 3-6 in the morning. So it just reminds me of middle school days, lots of listening to albums like this. I remember not having an appreciation for this Ice-T cover until you wound up playing it a bunch.
Yeah.
Like when I first heard the album, I kind of skipped over some of that, and you were like, no, dude, listen.
And you know what? I think at the time, I didn't even realize it was an Ice-T cover. You know what I mean? Like, because Ice-T, that was way before our time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think back then I was more listening to the beats, you know, and it's more than what they were saying. Because to me, I liked them, but I never thought they were like the best rappers.
I mean, even getting back to your true story stuff that's coming out, it was storytelling.
Yeah.
I think that was always the appeal. Like it didn't necessarily have to have a great chorus or anything like that. It was storytelling. And I knew it was Ice-T, but I only knew that because her dad used to walk in the door screaming that shit at me all the time. Like he Ice-T fan for real back in the day.
That's what I came into this world. I am Your Pusher by Ice-T. So
Song number 2 is They Don't Dance No Mo by Goody Mob.
Oh man, yeah. It takes me back to like 7th grade.
Exactly. I was heavy into it right when some of us got together to watch WrestleMania. I recall making my mother endure it on repeat, both to and from the event. Good time I likely wouldn't have had if you weren't keen on me being there, you know? So song number 3, Talk Show Host by Radiohead. Song I didn't realize was Radiohead, but it is because we were both really into the 97 Romeo and Juliet after seeing it in theater class.
Yeah.
I can fucks with that.
We wanted to like, we used to have to, they wanted us to do like little skits and we were trying to like, was it Romeo and Juliet where we went and got like toy guns and stuff? And we were trying to reenact it with guns like they did.
Man, y'all had a cool theater class, man.
That was just first year shit. That wasn't even when we actually had access to the theater.
We tried to do Gilbert Grape. Remember we were trying to do the...
If memory serves, it's John Leguizamo's portrayal of Tybalt that you gravitated toward, and I would have said it was Romeo for me at the time. In hindsight, though, it's the friendship between Benvolio and Mercutio that probably reflects most the way we've always been down.
Yeah.
A plague on both your houses.
I need to watch that again. I haven't seen that in a long time. But
It's
that was like a
good.
dope
It is
movie.
one of my favorites. That's like a comfort movie for me.
I just
It's
like
so
the whole
good.
spin on it, how they made it more modernized and it wasn't like swords and
But they
weird
use the
shit.
same text.
Yeah.
Which is great because illiterate ass people.
But their swords were like guns. Remember? It had,
Yes.
That's what I liked about it.
They had names and shit too, right?
Yeah.
Like, I tried watching Blood In, Blood Out ahead of your coming over it one because it takes me back.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find it streaming anywhere online. I wound up watching.
Man, it's actually free on YouTube.
Is it for
If
real?
you type it in on YouTube, you can watch the whole movie on YouTube.
Well, now I know. I think I wound up watching like American Me or something. Just fourth song is Nobody Can Stop Me by Busy Bone. I bought this solo album one night while a bunch of us were by the mall. I don't really remember the specifics. I just know we wound up at someone's apartment listening to it for a while before I had to head home. It was Jesse or Nestor's crib, something. It was right by Mac Park.
Yeah, I think that was Nestor, Country Park, right? On
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Yeah, that must have been Nestor.
It was just one of those random moments we shared that always stuck in my head.
Yeah.
There's not a rhyme or reason. And last song, which this one's the big one for me, it's I Ain't Mad At You by Tupac.
Oh, yeah.
We interact occasionally on Facebook, but it's been half a lifetime now since we've even sat in the same room. And I don't think either of us meant for it to be that way.
No.
That's just how a life of grinding can get between two friends with big dreams. I put this here to let you know that I know the reality of what's what. You and I will always be friends.
Always.
Some days I wake up and it takes me a minute to realize I'm not 12 years old anymore.
Yeah, for real.
And it's still just weird to think I'm not going to be kicking it with Chewy at school today. Feels like a blessing to have had a friend like you at all, though, so it remains nothing but love.
Real shit, man. I feel the same way. Like I said, our friendship means a lot to me, man. We go way back. You know what I mean? Like I said, if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. Yeah, I wouldn't be wanting to talk to me today. You know what I mean?
I don't know about that.
But no, I wouldn't. I just feel like I wouldn't have been in the same path. I wouldn't have gone down the same path if it wasn't for Shane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a two-way street.
There's so much love here, you guys. Group hug. Okay.
What the fuck? Let's go talk about 3-6 Mafia.
Because I honestly just feel like I'm chopping it up with an old friend. You know what I mean?
That's kind of the vibe. I actually used to get a lot of shit when we first started the show because we started doing these music lists where we told stories.
Mm-hmm.
And she would never tell much stories. It was just bullshitting about the song. And I would come on with like these in-depth, way back in the day shits that happened.
And
right?
I'm like,
She's
cool.
like, are you just doing this show so you can talk to people or tell a bunch of stories from your past and shit? Like, that's kind of the idea. All right, Six Mafia.
Friends, so. Sorry, go ahead.
Six Mafia.
First album we covered was Chapter 2, World Domination from 1997. This was my top album.
This was my middle album.
That's like one of my favorite 6 Mafia albums.
Out of the 22 tracks, I gave 14 fives.
I gave 4 fives. We've acknowledged my
4.
5. We've acknowledged my fives are harder to come by. They're the tippy top. Don't judge me too harshly, Masa.
Mine's are just like bass lines for, I think it could be played on the radio type shit.
Yeah.
My top track was Tear the Club Up 97. Never thought I'd say that, but that's, I don't know.
My top track is Late Night Tip.
That's a good one.
Bottom track was Studio Time, even though it makes me laugh.
My bottom track is any of the first 3 tracks, which they were all skits. So,
all right.
Notes? I'm not big on the skits. Too many skits. Beats are heavy and sick. And I mean sick in a good way. Can be a bit repetitive. I'm not a fan of the female raps. I know that there were. I know.
Gangsta Boo.
I know. Don't look
She's
at me like that.
always in here hating. When we covered the Barge, she was hating on the female too. Like some of the.
Don't make it out that I hate women or something.
Keep going.
The female rappers from that era to me were dope.
Yes.
Like the female rappers nowadays are just, I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm hating, but I'm not a fan of most female rappers nowadays.
That's why I got so pissed off last night watching that Versus shit. Because if I was going to take, of all the people on stage, if I was going to take 2 of them, put them together from each side, I want to hear Busy and Gangsta Boo do an album together.
Yeah,
I think
shit.
that would
like
be
they were
so
beefing.
Good.
Oh, man.
This is very Southern rap inspired. Lyrics can be lackluster, and since the album is when it is, it's a little low on budget, so that has to be expected.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what they were going for.
Yeah.
That was like one of their first albums that was like kind of taking off for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they were like new.
And most people don't know how many members are actually in 6 Mafia, or at least at this point, because we only really see
Juicy
the 2.
J and DJ Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the representatives.
Oh, I thought you were about to try to hit us with some knowledge. I was just waiting to correct
Like
you.
name all the members.
Yep.
No, I'm
6
not.
original members.
I'm not
2
that
front
big in my britches.
DJ producers, and 2 of them are actually dead now. So
Lord Infamous.
and Koopsta.
Yeah.
Yep. So you still got Crunchy Black and Gangsta Boo there with DJ Paul.
Yeah.
And Juicy J.
Juicy
Yes.
So with an instrumental bass that sounds like the underground, celebrating Halloween, this is one of the few albums that deserves being in the ring with Bones East 1999 Eternal Effort. The vocal delivery is completely different though, much grittier and a bit less complex. Gangsta Boo and Crunchy Black make for some wonderful extremes though, some wasted space and tracks not fleshed out, but mostly a true Terrify the Neighbors sort of spin. Love this disc.
The first time I had ever heard 6 Mafia was Hit a Motherfucker, which is on this
I
album.
bet you won't hit 'em.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit 'em up.
God damn.
My favorite one was Mafia, yeah. I forgot what it's called, but that was my shit.
My mom and Logan, I have them to thank for that contribution. Do you not remember when Mom was like into the rap game a little bit?
Yeah, it seems grittier than what they would gravitate toward.
Logan especially played it, but Mom was like cruising in the Yukon, which was my first vehicle, cruising in the Yukon with her arm hanging out the window, thinking that she was bad as shit with her Dada tops on.
I'll go ahead and say she was if she was listening to this.
She got Timberland boots and Dada shirts, and I'm like, where the fuck do you find that, Mom?
Again, going for a variety of albums here. Next we went with was Choices, the album from 2001. This was my middle album.
This is my bottom album.
Out of the 21 tracks, I gave 5 fives.
I gave 0 fives.
Is that the album that had Sippin' on Scissor on it?
No, that's
No,
the
that
one
was
When the Smoke Clears.
When the Smoke. There you go.
That's the one I wanted to pick, but again, I was trying to go for top track was Pass Me.
My top track was OV.
Bottom track was Talkin'.
Any of the skits. I feel like a broken record. Beats are less original here, still too repetitive, especially in the choruses, but overall the lyrics are a bit more creative. And if you like collabs, this has more than the previous album that we covered.
This is a soundtrack album. It's got a lot of pointless skits and leans too hard into that crunk cheese. It's also pretty obvious that the group is fractured and spread too thin. Still some winners in the mix though, and some that come real close. Not their best released, and those occasional repetitive loops really drag the album down.
For those that don't know, a couple of their original names were Six Mafia and the Backyard Posse. Also keep in mind, these guys are Oscar winners because they contributed a lot to the soundtrack of Hustle and Flow, which is my dad's shit. And
that's my shit, too.
We loved that movie growing up. Like, oh, it's so good.
So with the name, were they like considered like Satanists, devil worshippers, or
with the 3
or
6?
Was that just a way to like get attention and get
there were 6 members.
Yeah, it was 6 members. I don't even the 666 Mafia thing. I think there's 6 of them, and one of them had a rap style where he would do shit in triplicate. Mm-hmm. And I'm having trouble remembering. Like, it's just not as they would explain those inferences as lesser than they are. So they didn't get as much flack or any of that interview shit. Like, I think Tech Nine still gets that stuff.
Yeah, like if you listen to their music, they weren't talking no crazy shit like that, you know what I mean? But it was just a name. And then I just saw, like, after the battle, I seen this video like online where it was like Busy Bone was like talking about the verses, and he's like, fucking devil worshippers, something like that. And I was like, I know they had the name 3-6 Mafia. I was like, but I don't remember their music ever beating.
There will always be someone to make something out of nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it's a thing with some people.
Yeah, because they used to say the same shit about Bone. And I just saw like I think it was like a behind the music type thing about Bone, and they were talking about how a lot of their artwork kind of had like a dark feel to it, and then but he was saying it had a lot of like the Illuminati type symbolism on the artwork, and a lot of them had nothing to do with the artwork. They just thought it looked cool, like somebody put it together and they were like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then now they say now looking back at it, they're like, wow, like they were giving us like an image of being like devil worshippers or Satanists or something like that.
They were also doing chants to Mr. Ouija.
Mr. Ouija,
you know what I mean? Like, it's all there if you want to look for it.
But if you really listen to the music, it wasn't on no shit like that, really. You know what I mean?
Plus, everyone was trying to outdo each other back then, so murder. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that was the thing.
Die.
For real.
And last album we covered here was Most Known Unknown from 2005. This was my bottom album.
This is my top album.
Out of the 17 tracks, I gave 3 5s.
I gave 5 5s.
Top track was Stay Fly.
Papa My Collar, which, keep in mind, this is the shit that I like grew up with. This is more in my age group. Remember, there's a 6-year difference between us.
I'm not going to hate you for it. Nothing wrong. Bottom track was a toss-up between skit and outro.
Same. This has less skits, though, than the previous. There's still a lot of collabs. It does hold a level of nostalgia for me. I make no apologies for that. But this is more high-speed tech beats. There was sounds of this time that were pretty popular, and they definitely leaned more into that at the time.
I think the Choices album, but with fewer tracks and fewer skits, though somehow the skits here are even worse, serving as promos for other projects. The repetition also gets worse, and half of the group we started with is just gone. Most of the music is passable, but the effort as a whole feels really lazy, rushed, heartless, just in spots. I don't know. It makes me sad that this is their greatest success story. If you like the song Stay Fly, there's not much else here for you. If Poppin' My Collar is more your flavor, you may like this more than I did, and that's all I got.
And one thing that I got to say about 3-6 Mafia is like the Chapter 2 World Domination was like my favorite album from them. That's like my introduction to 3-6 Mafia. They played that CD till it didn't work no more. You know what I mean? But I felt like as they, like the albums you're talking about, I didn't really listen to them too much because like you said, I felt like they were the repetition.
Yeah.
They took like a lot of hooks and like recycled them. Like they reused them, but they would just change the words. Like I remember they used to have a song like, let me see your gold shine. That was like the hook on it, right? And then like an album later, they had a song that was like, let me see your tongue ring.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like they were changing the words, the lyrics, but they were like recycling the melodies or the hooks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even further down the line, they'll take some of those old loops and loop them into a new song. Yeah. Not even just like a change on the lyrics, but something else completely. And watching Verses last night, what struck me toward the end is they do a lot of that, club crunk.
Yeah.
And the way they jump and the rhythm in which they're just jumping on stage, it's pretty much the same throughout.
Yeah.
It's not to knock them. They've got some great beats.
No, they do. They got some dope music, but it was just like, I don't know what it was, but I felt, I've heard that on multiple songs, on multiple albums from 3-6 Mafia, where it felt like they were just being repetitive. They were doing like the same shit, you know? And I think that's where I kind of lost interest. But when I listen to 3-6 Mafia, I always go back to that album. You know what I mean?
Chapter 2.
The Chapter 2 World Domination,
Well,
man.
rap was central.
Yeah.
You know, beats were a big thing, but it was centrally rap. And I don't feel like DJ Paul was doing as much of what Juicy J wanted to do back then. It wasn't as popular to do that kind of music anyway. Gangster rap was still a big thing. So
looking back at it, they were more like crunk rappers because they weren't really lyricists. You know what I mean? Like they're not bubblegum rap because they weren't like hugs and handshakes. You know what I mean? But they were like simple rap, like 1, 2, 3 raps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they were simple, but it was more the melodies and the beats that caught your attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I was going to talk about it a little later, but for like me, 3-6 Mafia was like catchy,
Yeah.
but Bone Thugs was art.
Yeah.
okay.
So it's just
I can see that.
there's it's two sides of the same coin, but they're just I think the intention behind it is different.
I mean, I'm not going to fault 3-6 Mafia either. I really respect that they're still doing it.
And they're like the most imitated right now. They're like the most imitated, most like sampled. Like if you listen to a lot of these young artists that are coming up, they have a lot of 3-6 Mafia influence in their music. You know what I mean? So they're still doing their thing. I'm not taking nothing away from 3-6 Mafia. Just my own personal opinion. I just felt like, I think, and it's the same thing with Bone Thugs. Like over time, it's like their music just started. They weren't making the best music. You know what I mean?
And their leads that are holding the group together in 3-6, they're both producers. They're both DJs, you know, so to have to deal with
even
the
now
drama of the other
they're
members.
doing dope shit on their own.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Related acts here, the Killjoy Club, which is a few members from 3-6, along with ICP. And then you've got Hypnotized Camp Posse, which was their label's other artists that a lot of people think are part of 3-6 Mafia that are not like Lil Chat, Project Pat.
Lil Chat, right? Lil Chat.
Lil Chat.
Okay.
What'd I say, Lil Chat?
Lil Chat,
I've been talking a lot today. DJ Paul has Erb's palsy, causing one of his arms to be smaller than the other.
I've always wondered what was up with that. You know what I mean?
I've seen him in videos where he doesn't seem to care, and I'm glad he's got that confidence. It's just still weird to see him on stage and kind of hiding it, you know what I mean? Looping the...
He's always swinging that little towel.
Yeah.
That towel with that little hand. I never heard the story about it. Like, I don't think I've ever heard him speak on it.
He's just born with it.
Yeah. But honestly, when I first heard of 3-6 Mafia, I thought they were all like a little off or handicapped or something, you know what I mean? But then it's just DJ Paul, right?
Yeah.
It's just him.
I think this music would appeal greatly to ICP and Lil Jon fans.
Yeah.
Like those two categories coming together, I think it kind of hits nicely. Music makes me feel like I'm just a little too high.
Okay. All right.
They did a lot of music for the heavy drug users, right? Like they used to like promote that shit in their music.
Yeah, it would have been hard to keep up at one point because just like Bone Thugs with their solo material, this group they produce so many mixtapes and
Yeah, I think on every album the title Weed was at least in one song on every album that we covered.
Oh, both these groups do weed songs. Don't get it twisted. Big time. I think to be most successful in the future, they should just stick to the 3-6 Mafia as a group and cut all the weak material until they've got a solid album. Because every now and then they land on something that really wins and isn't just repetition. Most of the founding members would go on to form the Mafia 6, and their sound focused more on their horror roots. I'm not holding my breath for another world domination level release from 3-6 Mafia, but underestimating their potential has a tendency to be a mistake. Go hear the song Go Hard by the Mafia 6 if you don't believe me.
So Masa.
What's up?
Bone Thugs, 3-6. Who are you choosing?
I gotta go with Bone Thugs.
Okay.
All right, I got a harder question for you. East 1999 Eternal or Chapter 2 World Domination? Because I couldn't pick a winner, man.
I don't think I can pick a winner either because both of those albums were like major, they were like major albums for me. Like I probably played both of them till they stopped working. But honestly, I would have to go with East 1999.
Okay.
Just because, like I said, that was the first album I ever purchased as a kid. That started it for me. You know what I mean? It's hard to say that, but I will go with Bone Thugs.
I dig it. I definitely dig it. Bone Thugs won for me. it was close.
Bone Thugs also won for me, and it was not close.
3-6 had a lot more songs though,
and they did a lot of newer music too, right? Like I saw
Yes.
a part of it where they did like the was it the Players Anthem, National Players Anthem with the Pimp C feature, and then I seen that they had like Wiz Khalifa on there, and because he did like a song with Juicy J. So I seen that they did some newer music, but I didn't actually watch the whole battle. Like I seen pieces of it. I need to go back and check it out.
It was a good week.
I haven't seen it either, but yeah, it was a really good week, and we got lucky with what all was going on in the world and covering these two artists. So
Yeah.
I ain't mad at it.
All right, well, let's move on to some more questions for our guest here. Again, that's Masa Lopez. Go check him out. Spotify, SoundCloud.
Everywhere. Yeah, I'm all over the place.
Yeah, where can we find you? Everywhere.
Y'all can find me at Masa Lopez. That's actually at Masa_Lopez. And on YouTube, it's Masa Lopez 940.
That's how you can spot the reels, by the way. We all have the underscore. we were all late to the game. Somebody out there stealing our shit.
Somebody got it.
We're also going to be sharing a lot of his handles on social media. So if you want to find that all in one place, be on the lookout for that on our Rated Radio Facebook page.
So, Masa, who would you most like to make music with?
And there's a lot of people that I've always wanted to do music with. I think it would be more like producers than it would be rappers.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I would like to do music with like Dr. Dre, just because he's dope, legendary. Yeah. But then somebody else too that might bring something out of me that I wouldn't necessarily do. Maybe somebody like Pharrell.
Okay. Good. You know what solid choices. I like that.
I have nothing to add, surprisingly. I can get behind that. I think those would be good choices too. Yeah. It'd fit your style. Were you ever part of another musical act?
Yeah. When we first started, when I first started doing music, me and Little Matt came into this shit together, and we had so many fucking names. We started off as the Texas Riders. And then that quickly, we got rid of that. And we went to Top Notch Riders. We got rid of that shit too. But it was me, Little Matt, and Jesse. Jesse Mendez, my boy. He used to go by J-Dub, J Nero. I don't know. He always changed his name too. But yeah, I was a part of that. And that's when we first kind of came into doing music, started doing music. And then we ended up starting, it was like, I started my own record label. What I thought it was like my brand. It was called Reckless Records. So I was kind of like the one running the shit. And I had like Little Matt, Slim. I had a few other artists that I grew up with that were kind of a part of our label. But I was too young and wild. I didn't know nothing about running a label. It was just kind of like a brand that we were starting, you know?
Yeah.
And then for a while there, like I kind of lost interest in music and I wasn't even doing it for a while. And there was another label here called Kickdoor Records that my boy Easy Junior Mraz, my boy, he goes by Easy. That was his label. He started it. And it was kind of crazy because there used to be beef between Reckless and Easy, but it was like on some personal shit. You know what I mean? Okay. Between me and one of the members had like a little personal beef, and it kind of spilled over to like Reckless versus Kickdoor. But it ended up, anyway, after we kind of put that behind us, and then I went and did a song one time with one of the artists there at that studio, and they asked me to join Kickdoor Records. So I was like an artist, like a solo artist under Kickdoor Records, and I was a part of that for like a few years. And then that whole situation was just a little weird because it was started by Easy, but me and Little Matt kind of took the name and kind of like elevated it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then there was kind of like tension or within the label, you know? And then towards the end, I felt like I wanted to be an artist, but I was more like running the shit, like booking shows and managing artists. And I was like, I didn't want to do all that. So I remember reaching out to Little Matt and everybody else. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave and start doing my own thing. And I'm going to start focusing on just myself and not other artists, you know? And so I left that in like 2014, I think I left Kickdoor Records, 2015. And I started Masa Music. And it was, I didn't start it with like an intention to like sign other artists. It was just a way to kind of brand myself. You know what I mean? Because I had always been not necessarily groups, but they were like, what would you call it, like a conglomerate or some shit of different
like individual artists.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It was just like a bunch of artists that we weren't a group, but we always worked together. Yeah. You know what I mean?
All under the same umbrella.
Yeah, under the same umbrella type shit. But when I left all that and I started Masa Music, that's when I really just started focusing on me. And I stopped trying to like help put other people on. I know I kind of went all over the place just to answer your question, but yeah, I was a part of a lot of different little groups and labels and stuff before I ended up just doing my own thing. You know what I mean? And even then, I didn't even mention I was a part of Cash and Respect.
Cash and Respect.
And I'm still a part of Cash and Respect. And it's like, Cash and Respect is a label too, here out of Denton, that was started by my boy Miller the Mayor and one of his artists, Renzo. I don't know if you ever heard of Renzo, Mr. Bars on Deck. Mm-hmm. And like we were all, it was kind of like Kickdoor / Cash and Respect. And when I decided to leave Kick Door, Milla and Cash and Respect really got behind me. You know what I mean? And so it went to being kind of like Masa Music / Cash and Respect. But Cash, like I said, Masa Music is not really a label. It's just my brand. And Cash and Respect, I consider that as the label that I'm under. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there's no contracts or nothing like that. It's just like, those are my people. You know what I mean? So we have kind of like, I'm going to rep them and be with them forever. And it's open. Like, even if somebody was to come now and sign me and I'd go be with another artist or another label, it would still be Cash and Respect. And I have a song called Cash and Respect on mine. And that just means like, that's my shit. Like, that's, you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, if you ask me what I'm ripping, it's Cash and Respect on mine.
It's a little unrelated, but I just want to say that as much as I miss seeing the hashtag, because I always thought it was not funny, but it was catchy. And the way I used it was humorous at times. The Free Lil Matt.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm really glad to see that he's free and he's down there doing well for himself. Marcos is doing great. What song do you most enjoy covering?
I used to do that a lot. Like, we used to do, when we used to do the mixtapes, we used to always rap on other people's beats. You know what I mean? And I haven't done that in a long time. Well, actually, no, I'm going to lie. I'm lying. So a couple years back, I dropped Masa Flows. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty much no hooks and there was no features. It was all me. And it was pretty much, I was just rapping like on these other people's beats. And one of my favorite ones was it's a J. Cole beat, the Fire Squad. Mm-hmm. I think it's called Fire Squad. I just call it the Fire Squad flow because I just got on there and rapped like 32 bars. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's like, people hear that today, like, there's still people that haven't heard it yet, so they're like, bro, when did you drop that? That's so fucking hard. But that's like probably one of my favorite ones. And I like, it's hard beat, like the delivery's hard, like the shit that I'm saying it's like, that's probably my favorite one.
I'd recommend it, by the way, to listeners.
The Fire Squad flow.
Yeah, it's like I am one of those people who doesn't normally like the songs that don't have any choruses or anything like that, but
that whole concept between on that project was just me rapping. Yeah. I just wanted to show people like, hey, I can actually rap. Like, I'm not here making cheesy, catchy hooks. I just want you to see like I have like the lyrical ability. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you were going to change your sound, what genre would you take on?
I've always wanted to do like rock music, man. I've always wanted to be like, I always wanted to be in a band. Like as kids, when we were growing up, I always wanted to be in a band, like a lead singer. I can't play instruments, but I've always wanted to be like a rock star, man, or in a rock band or something.
Maybe someday.
Someday. I don't know what I would do, but that's always been something I wanted to do, man.
You mentioned feeling like you were too old. I was watching that Versus last night and it made me think, no, we're still okay. We still got some time.
Yeah.
Maybe when we are too old, maybe we'll turn to rock. When all else fails, we'll see
kinda
what
like,
that's about.
And it's crazy because you see like, what's his name from the House of Pain?
Everlast.
Yeah, not Everclear.
That's Liquor, right?
Well, there's an Everclear band that also makes rock music.
And who is it like
I love
that?
that you thought of the Liquor first. So that's where my mind goes.
And Kid Rock's like that too, right? Like he's kind of doing more country and stuff like that now. So it's like, there's always a way to transition, and it seems like once they, I guess, rap or something, because they, like House of Pain, they started rap, and then Kid Rock did like rock rap, and then now he's doing more like country rock and roll type shit.
Evolving.
Right? Yeah, but he still has like his live shows are dope. Like I've seen him on like YouTube, and you see like he kind of puts all that shit in his show. So yeah, but I'd say rock, man, because I love rock music, man. Even now, I get tired of listening to rap, so I drive around all day and I listen to like the Eagle. You know what I mean? And I listen to all the old Red Hot Chili Peppers and all that. But I love like Seether and like Breaking Benjamin. And
you got to be careful talking about Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right.
Somebody was just complaining about hearing it on the radio.
I love all that music, man. I grew up on it, so it's like rock is like my second favorite genre, I guess you could say.
It's a good genre.
What's missing from your online discography or song library?
A lot of my music.
Yes.
A lot of my music is missing because I was like I think I was late to getting online like that, like the distribution. Yeah. And when I first started doing music, and even all this time over doing music, I wasn't doing my business right. Like I wasn't purchasing the beats, I wasn't getting contracts or leases and stuff like that. So I have lots of music that's not on these platforms because I technically don't own the rights to it. You can find some of that shit on like SoundCloud or YouTube, like those type of platforms. But as far as like Spotify, iTunes, all that shit, there's a lot of music that's not on there. Because I really don't, even now, I don't have a lot of music on these platforms. I have like a few singles and I have like my last album. But even like Masa Flows with the album I was telling you about, the little mixtape I dropped, you can find that like on SoundCloud and YouTube. But because there were other people's instrumentals.
You don't have the copyright.
Yeah, I don't have the copyright. A lot of that shit got taken down, or like even like I did a song to that Kodak Black's the skr. I did like my own little flow to that. And like they took all my publishing from that song, you know. So it's like there's a lot of music that I have that's not uploaded, but it's because, like I said, just me being independent, and I've kind of learned all this shit as I went. And like I didn't have my business together, man. I didn't have my business right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we would love to play music on this podcast, but it would get rather expensive very quickly.
You guys have to pay like the royalties or.
Yeah.
Or these days they just hit you with copyright strikes, you know, copyright infringement, and you go under. Yeah, I was tripped out this morning though. I was gonna change my profile song to one of your songs, and I looked your name up. Like I hit Masa Lopez on Facebook, and I was like, oh, there's shit here I've never even seen, right? Yeah. And On Mine is the one I keep coming back to. Your song On Mine.
And that's one of them too, that song right there. Like I don't own that beat, I just kind of heard the beat. I heard another rapper that did a song to that beat, and their song was dope as fuck. And I was like, I like that beat, so I'm going to do something to it. But I flipped the song completely, so it sounds nothing like the other rapper's song. You know what I mean? Nice. And I got a lot of love for that song, too. But because really I don't own it, I can't. Later. And Sweet. We shot like we went to L.A. and we shot like a little low-budget video for it. And so I've only can do so much with shit like that when you don't own the rights to the beats or to the music. You know what I mean? And it's crazy now. Like, so there's like artists that I record, right? And these guys are taking beats off of the YouTube. Oh. And then they're like, putting them on Spotify and shit. And I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? Like, I didn't even know you were able to take somebody's song you don't own and upload it on Spotify.
I have a feeling that if any of it ever got popular,
then they would come. Yeah, that's what I was telling them out there. I was like, you're able to do that? They're like, yeah. I was like, well, if that song ever blows for you, then that's when you're going to have an issue, man. Like that producer, whoever owns that copyright is going to come and either shut you down or they're going to try to hit you over the head for all the money you're making off of it.
And I know a lot of artists would rather that because at least they popped and got big with something. So now people know their name, even if it does get removed. But you could lose your whole shit.
No, they could sue you and take everything from you. They shut you down, man. Yep.
But yeah, On Mine, I have to point out one more time, it's missing from Spotify, so can't go looking for it, listeners, but it's a great song. You can find that on SoundCloud if you want to check that out. It's on SoundCloud. It's also, we have a video, and I think the official audio is on YouTube, so y'all can check that out there. Well, I'm going to be there later anyway, going to watch Blood In, Blood Out again. It's been so many years, man.
I want to say Shane said it enough, but really, thank you for taking the time to be here to have this conversation with us.
I appreciate you guys having me. And like I said, it should have been a lot sooner, but, some life again, like I said, to kind of... And I wanted to do this just because I've kind of been like in a little slump, I feel like, the last few months, and I'm trying to like climb my way up out of it and be creative again and get back in the mix like I used to be. So I was like, I definitely, if I'm going to do that, I want to come out at my boy.
I'm here for it.
Thank you.
Couldn't have asked for better conversation from a cooler guest.
Thank you. I do have one thing before we go.
Yes.
Right.
So I want to promote the studio. So me and my boy Miller the Mayor, we just opened up the Den Recording Studio here in Denton. We're actually located at 813 North Locust Street, Suite 111. And we got good quality sound, man, and it's a nice, comfortable, and professional environment for everybody. So if you need studio time, any genre, man, holler at us and we'll get you in there, man. We'll get you sounding right. You know what I mean?
And the rates look extremely solid right now.
And we're keeping it really affordable for everybody. We're keeping it affordable because we know all these artists out here, even though they talk about having money, not every artist has money like that. So I was like, you know what? We're trying to make it affordable and still give you that quality sound, man. So for right now, hit us up and we got you. And also, one more thing. I'm sorry.
No.
Y'all keep a lookout for True Story. It's my new EP. It's actually already ready, but I want to add a couple more songs to it. So I think I might switch some stuff, move some stuff around. So I'm working on some new material, but that should be out soon. So y'all stay tuned for that.
And what I've heard of it, completely on point.
Appreciate that.
Anyway, that's going to do it for this week. Hit up our playlist on Spotify, visit our merch shop, share our show with your friends. Come find us on social media and let us know what you think. And until next time, fill your world with music.
And if you ain't listening to Masa Lopez, the fuck are you even doing?
Real shit.